Top of the day, beautiful people. Happy Friday, happy Friday, happy Friday. All right, beautiful people. It is Friday, November the 29th, 2019, day number 6, year 2. We are in Genesis 16, 17, and 18. Why did you laugh? TT, hey girl, hey. All right, beautiful people. We're going to get started straight away. Yeah, this morning. Okay, Genesis chapter 16. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abram, Behold, now Yahuwah hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid, it may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. And when he went in unto Hagar, she conceived, and when Sarah had saw she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. And Sarai said unto Abram, My wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid into thy bosom, and when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. Yahuwah judge between me and thee. Like, you gave her to him. Like, how did you think anything good was going to come of that? Okay. Verse 6. But Abram said unto Sarai, Behold, thy maid is in thy hand. Do to her as it pleaseth thee. And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. And the angel of Yahuwah found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Shur. And he said to Hagar, Sarai's maid, whence camest thou? And whither wilt thou go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress Sarai. And the angel of Yahuwah said unto her, Return unto thy mistress, and submit thyself under her hands. And the angel of Yahuwah said unto her, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, and it shall not be numbered for a multitude. And the angel of Yahuwah said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and thou shalt bear a son, and shalt call his name Ishmael, because Yahuwah hath heard thy affliction. And he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. And she called the name of Yahuwah that spake unto her, Thou God seest me. For she said, I have also spoken here. Have I also here? What? Hold on. I'm tripping. Let me read that again. Verse 13. And she called the name of Yahuwah that spake unto her, Thou God seest me. For she said, Have I also here looked after him that seeth me? That didn't make sense to me still. I know what she's saying. It just didn't make sense to me while I was reading. Okay, verse 14. Wherefore the well was called Beer-lahai-roi. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bare Abram a son, and Abram called his son's name, which Hagar bore, Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abram. He was 86. I had to do the calculation real quick. So he was 86 years old. I brought that out because sometime in Bible study or children's church, when you do the story about Abraham and Ishmael being born, for some reason, when they're sent out to the wilderness, when Sarai finally kicks them both out, we think... we kind of see this picture with Hagar and a baby sitting under a tree. Remember, Abram was 86 years old. We're going to do the calculation so you can see that this boy was he was a teenager, and he could take care of himself, so to speak, when Sarai pretty much kicked him out next time. Okay, listen. He was 86 when Ishmael was born. Chapter 17. And when Abram was 90 years old and 99 years old, let's do the quick calculation. 99. Subtract 86. Then we're going to take away 6. You got 3. 13. That's 13 years, right? And when Abraham was 90 years old and 9, Yahuwah appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am Yahuwah Almighty. Walk before me and be thou perfect, and I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and Yahuwah walked with him, saying, And as for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Neither shall thy name be no more called Abram, for a forefather of nations I have made thee. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made thee. And I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations as an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee. Remember, we got to keep that in mind today. The covenant was made with him and his seed after him, many nations, right? Verse 8, And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And Yahuwah said unto Abraham, Thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore thou and thy seed after thee in thy generations. This is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised, and ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you. And although here in America, now they just say it's like a health precaution where they automatically circumcise the male children. Well, you got to get the approval from the parent, but most males are circumcised now. It's just kind of like, it's not mandatory. Like I said, the mothers can not decide to circumcise their children, but most of them do. So that's something that's actually being kept, even that's a token, a sign of the covenant that's being kept throughout the hospitals, and a lot of people don't even realize it. All right. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you. Granted, they learn to circumcise the baby as soon as they come out, because they don't even let the mothers stay in the hospital past 2 days. You're lucky if you get a third day, but they kicking you out by noon, definitely on the third day. I know, I done had a gaggle of children. I ain't never had a vacation that long. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child of your generations. He that is born in the house or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed, he that is born in thy house and he that is bought with thy money, must needs be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised man child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant. And Yahuwah said unto Abraham, As for Sarai thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name. And I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed, and said in his heart, Shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old, and shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? And Abraham said unto Yahuwah, Oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. He thought it was absolutely impossible. He really did. And Yahuwah said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. As for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will be established with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. Imagine, how old was he right now? He was 99 years old. And he said this time next year, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this time set in the next year. In the next year meaning 1 year. And remember, I haven't said this since we started. This is another time marker. Yahuwah, when he says something is going to happen, I know in the church, everything is ambiguous. Oh, Jesus is coming soon. Jesus has been coming for the last 2,000 years, but we ain't even going to get into that, but we notice every time when Yahuwah says something, he gives a time marker and he gives a sign, so you will know this is a time period where I said it's going to happen, and this is when it's going to happen. Like, he gives you time markers so you can see, and he always keeps his word. If there's an extension, he lets you know there's an extension. How we miss that? Because we don't read. We don't pay attention. We don't see the proof in the details. We don't see the proof in the details. Pay attention to detail, people. All right. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time next year. And when he left off talking with him, Yahuwah went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and all that were bought with him, his money, and every male among men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the selfsame day, as Yahuwah had said unto him. Imagine being a grown-up, having been circumcised. And at this time, Ishmael was 13 years old. I'm not sure if they numbed the parts, but I don't know that they had anything to numb it with, simply because some other stories that we've read through here, a covenant, well, a deceitful covenant that was made when a certain army, they were trying to come into covenant with Jacob and his sons, and they said, well, if your men circumcise themselves, because we can't be in covenant with anybody who are not circumcised in their flesh. Here's what you got to do. You got to circumcise yourself, and then, once this, we can do this, and this, and then we'll let you take women from our people, we'll take women from your people. And when all behind that whole thing was something deceitful, so they could kill all the men in the camp, simply because one of their knucklehead men had raped their sister, and they were not having it. So that's something that they used to disable all the men. So mind you, they weren't numbed up. I said all that to say they were in some pain because they could not fight back. It was almost impossible for them. I know you've seen probably on TV, or if you've witnessed a male get kicked in their genitals, it literally disables them. And sometimes you kick it so hard they throw up. I don't know what it is about that area and what causes their whole body to go into shock. But when you mess with a man's private area, you can literally almost kill him. That's how they were able to overpower the entire city, because all the men had gotten circumcised and they were pretty much disabled for a few days. So, all right. Verse 24. And Abraham was 99 years old. He was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And the selfsame day was Abraham circumcised, and Ishmael, his son, and all the men of his house. All right, babe. Love you. And all the men of his house, born in the house and bought with money of the stranger, were circumcised with him. Last chapter for the day, chapter 18 of Genesis. And Yahuwah appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day, and he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. Hold on. I need to bring something out about this. Listen. Let me read it, then we'll explain. And Yahuwah appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the doors of the tent in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye hearts. After that ye shall pass on, for therefore thou art come to your servant. And they said, So do as thou hast said. And Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah, and said, Make ready quick 3 measures of fine meal, kneaded, and make cakes upon the hearth. And Abraham ran unto the herd, and fetched a calf tender and good, and gave it unto the young man, and he hastened to dress it. Then he took butter and milk and the calf of which he had dressed, and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. And he said unto them, Where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, Behold, in a tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door which was behind him. And Abraham and Sarah were of old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord also being old? She also thought it was going to be impossible for her to bear children at such an old age. And Yahuwah said unto Abraham, Wherefore, hold on. Okay. Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child which am old? Is anything too hard for Yahuwah? At the time appointed I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. She was close enough where he could talk to her. Some people sometimes think she was like off a ways, but he was speaking directly to her. And the men rose up from thence and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And Yahuwah said, Shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do, seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him? For I know him, and he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of Yahuwah to do justice and judgment, that Yahuwah may bring upon Abraham all that which he hath spoken of him. Go plug it in.
Plug up my head.
Okay, go plug it in because it's about to die. And Yahuwah said, Because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it which is come unto me, and if not, I will know. And the men turned their faces from thence and went toward Sodom, but Abraham stood yet before Yahuwah. Now, let me bring out something. Yahuwah was there, and also 3 men. So technically, 5 people were present. Yahuwah, Abraham, and the 3 men that showed up. How do we know that? Because it said the men went on unto Sodom. Yahuwah was talking to Abram. So there were 4 people present. Yahuwah showed up and began... He showed up before the 3 men actually showed up there, if we go back there and read. But that's something I wanted to bring out. A lot of times we don't pay attention to that. And Abraham drew near and said, Wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Peradventure there be 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou also destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked. That be far from thee. Shall the judge of all the earth do right? And Yahuwah said, If I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the people, I will spare all the place for their sakes. And Abraham answered and said, Behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto Yahuwah, which am but dust and ashes. Peradventure, there shall lack 5 of the 50, or what if it's only 45? What if it's only 45 righteous? Wilt thou destroy the city for lack of 5? And he said, If I find there 45, I will not destroy it. And he spake again unto him, and said, Peradventure, there shall be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for the 40's sake. Abraham knew how terrible it was. He's like, these people are surely going to be destroyed. But my nephew was there. And he said unto him, Oh, let not Yahuwah be angry, and I will speak. Peradventure, there shall 30 be found there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, Behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto Yahuwah. Peradventure, there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. And a lot of us, I was like, well, why don't he just get to the point? Why didn't he just ask? And he thinking he talking him down. But Yahuwah knew that Lot lived there. And he was referring to Lot because he was there with his family. So I'm sitting there counting up. I was like, okay, you got Lot, you got his wife. He had 2 daughters and their husbands. So that's 6. Did they have any children? I don't think it mentioned any children, but they could have had some servants, So I was like, well, he at least got 10, at least 10 in his household. I don't think 10 made it out, but we'll see. And he said unto him, 31 again. And he said, Behold, now I have taken it upon me to speak unto Yahuwah. Peradventure there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. And he said, Oh, let not Yahuwah be angry, and I will speak yet but this once. Peradventure 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. And Yahuwah went his way as soon as he had left communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned unto his place. Now, we all know what happens. So apparently, and I was just thinking about it as I saw, apparently there were not even 10 found that Yahuwah considered righteous. He said, if I even find 10, I will spare the entire city for the sake of those 10. You know what happened? The angel showed up like, look, get your family, let's roll. It's a small handful of y'all. Y'all didn't even meet the requirement that Abraham was working out with y'all. So y'all got to go. You got to hurry up. And it said Lot was slow poking around. The angel's like, what is you doing, bro? Fire and brimstone is about to rain down on this place. Y'all know what? Come on, let's go. And it said the angels grabbed them and got them out of there. And Lot was like, well, we can't run that far. Let us go to the city up here. That's like, all right, get to the city. If he probably hadn't asked, because they told him to flee. I think he told him to flee to the mountains or something. I don't remember exactly where he told him to flee, but he said, that's too far. What about this little city over here? Because I think the city, everything close to it was going to go too. But it says that the city was protected for the sake of Lot. So that's something serious. It was multiple people living in that city. And Yahuwah said, if I find 10, I will spare the entire city for the sake of the 10. And apparently there were not 10, because Sodom and Gomorrah is nothing but sulfur and brimstone remains to this day. Right? Okay, y'all. So that was a reading for today. It's Friday. We are going into the Sabbath. So prepare so you can rest. You don't have to do anything. It is Friday, November the 29th, 2019, day number 6, year 2, and we just read Genesis 16, 17, and 18. And we will find out tomorrow, Sunday, although I just kind of gave a quick overview of what was going to happen. But we'll actually read through it on Sunday. You can read ahead if you like. There's nothing stopping you from reading your own Bible yourself at any given time. You feel like you can listen to it, you can read it, whatever. But with that being said, beautiful people, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. So may Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and lift his countenance upon us and be gracious unto us. And may he be great and give us his shalom. I was going too fast and I was going to say something else added to the end of the prayer, and I had it. My mind went blank. So may Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and lift his countenance upon us and be gracious unto us and our households, and may he give us his shalom, or his peace. I got to slow myself down sometimes because I talk too fast and I get ahead of myself. So with that being said, beautiful people, I will see y'all Sunday. Peace.